to make this session run much more smoothly, so you can see the linkages between presentations, we'll keep all of the discussion and questions, I think, until all the speakers have presented, and then we'll open it up to the floor and try to bring out the issues you speak. So, over to you.
Thank you, Ian, and thanks, Annie, for the invitation to contribute today. Essentially, just to show the background to how I got involved with open data, I suppose I'm involved from a producer side in that I've been working with the Environmental Protection Agency in Ireland for about the last 8 years or so, in tandem with working in computer science research in NUI Maynooth in Ireland also. And I suppose my first frustration in terms of access to data was during my PhD in 2004 when I was looking for a road network to test the shortest path algorithm approach that we were doing, and we had to go to the United States Tiger data set to get some real data sets that we didn't have to pay for. So when I began working with the agency then, funding of environmental research was becoming a key policy driver in Ireland, to the point where the STRIVE programme was born in 2007, so the largest environmental funding programme ever undertaken by the state. Essentially what I've helped to do is develop an open policy there where researchers who are funded by this programme must feed back their information and data outputs from their projects back to the EPA, which are then released out under open access out onto the internet and to the public. I'm also involved with operational work in the EPA in the air quality section, where we're in Brussels quite often now on air quality directives, access to public environmental information, greenhouse gases, climate change adaptation, etc. So I suppose another driver then is that in 60 seconds all of this will have happened on the web, and obviously there's a huge amount of information being generated by people who are not government. So I think what agencies need to remember is that they're not the only data producers out there anymore. And I suppose we've seen the top quotation already, but essentially my first lesson is that many of the producers we deal with, so both from university, both from state agency and in the middle, are either unwilling or unable to open up their data. They're not aware of the potential. It's now a case where resources are very scarce, and then because resources are scarce, they're not sure of the use cases and if it's a valuable use case. If you look from the consumer side, then the consumers mostly want data to use for their own purposes and use the data that they as citizens actually have a right to use. Given that most of my experience is from dealing with the scientific community, I suppose science is a public enterprise now, and all of the scientists that I deal with are all funded from public funds. And so there is an obligation there that what they discover, what they create is somehow channeled back into the society that funded it. However, there is a mindset there that scientists regard most of their data as their own private property. Now, where this grew from was I developed a system called Safer, a very simple web-based system. But the reason why we didn't use another system was we had so many strange demands from our base of researchers that okay, well, I want a 12-month embargo. I don't want you to let Excel files out if I don't click a certain button. So we decided, okay, we're going to build this thing on our own, and it's working very well for us. What it's doing is providing a focal point. So it's the only example in Ireland of where data, not just papers and reports, but actual data comes into the agency and gets funneled back out. So it's replacing a grey, dusty archive. Just down from my office in EPA, there's a publications room. There's boxes with dust and spider's webs from reports from 10 years ago, which are essentially dormant and useless. They're just paper. There's no data available that corresponds to those reports. We track a lot of we track downloads from Safer, and obviously 80% of the downloads are from Ireland and the UK, which is kind of an obvious result really for us. There is a more wider scale geographical breakdown. We are breaking outside of UK and Ireland. Again, it's probably not EPA's goal to hit all of the continents, but it is nice to see that when you open data up, other people are interested in it. But data mining is a problem. It's a very interesting problem, but as I've heard this from Werner Kroon in Munster, that the data is mine, all mined, and no one else is getting it. And this is the problem that we encounter. And there's data dinosaurs, unfortunately, still roaming around academic institutions. And the resistance to change is a very delicate issue. I've actually received metadata handwritten out on a sheet. The form was printed from the SAFER system and handwritten in. So this is the kind of resistance that you can meet sometimes. Now obviously the policy drivers are coming from various layers in Europe. You've Inspire from a geospatial point of view, and then the PSI information directive. Now just to flick through the screenshots, obviously there's some really great international examples of open data which is working, which is being used. And in Ireland what we found is that it's mostly a consumer need which seems to push the policy people into actually doing something about opening their data up. And it seems that politicians in Ireland are a little bit afraid of the internet, that if a bit of momentum builds, something can actually happen. So, for example, some nice applications are actually coming out now of using data which is freely available and freely accessible. For example, a very simple bathing water information site where this can be downloaded in CSV format, but it's also available so that people can understand it, whether it's safe to bathe in that location or not. Fingal County Council is one of the large county councils of the Dublin city variety, and they've really grabbed open data by the scruff of the neck in comparison to other local authorities. Sustainable Energy Ireland, people like that, again, I suppose meeting the needs of climate change, UNFCCC requirements, etc., are making data available. One of the problems I find with this is that it's top-end data, so it's not necessarily applicable, I suppose, to the man on the street, but more so people who are really involved in the scientific aspects of the data.